My girlfriend's dad said I couldn't appreciate their Italian family values, so I showed him real tradition. The first time I met Angela's father, he served everyone homemade wine but handed me store-bought beer. He said something in Italian to his brother while smiling at me, and Angela told me he was praising my manners. But I caught one word I recognized: Americano, American. My stomach dropped because his tone didn't match Angela's translation at all. That night I downloaded a language app. We'd been dating 2 years. I figured I had time to prove myself. 3 months later, I understood basic phrases but sounded terrible trying to speak. At Easter dinner, her father kept switching between English and Italian. He'd say something nice in English like, "He seems responsible," then immediately say something in Italian that made his brothers laugh. I understood, "Non capisce niente," doesn't understand anything. Then, "Mangia come un bambino," eats like a child. I just sat there pretending I didn't understand. Angela asked me later why I was so quiet. I told her I was just overwhelmed. She squeezed my hand and said her dad was warming up to me. I wanted to laugh, but I needed him to think I was clueless. By month 6, I understood most conversations but sounded awful when I tried to speak. My tutor kept making me repeat the same phrases over and over. She told me my comprehension was great, but my accent was rough. Angela worked Saturday mornings. I was actually at the Italian American Center learning traditional cooking from this nonna named Rosaria. She was tough but honest. She told me I understood like an adult, but cooked like a child. Month 8 almost ruined everything. Angela found my Italian workbook with hundreds of pages of notes. The worst part was that I'd been documenting phrases I heard, vocabulary practice. She went through them excitedly. She suggested maybe I could say grace in Italian at Christmas. I agreed, knowing I was planning way more than that. Month 10, her father started switching to Italian mid-conversation whenever I walked in the room. He'd wave and say it was family business, but he was getting more dismissive. He told his brother Americans only knew Italian from chain restaurants. His brother actually defended me, but her father just shrugged and said it wasn't like I could understand anyway. By month 12, I understood everything but never let on. Thanksgiving was brutal. His cousins came from Rome and her father went all out. He said it would be nice if Angela dated someone who understood their heritage. Then he actually invited his friend's son Paolo to dinner and mentioned he was a lawyer from Florence. Paolo was charming and spent the whole night cooking traditional dishes and speaking perfect Italian. Angela looked uncomfortable and kept leaving the room, but her father kept pushing Paolo on her. Month 14 nearly broke me. During Sunday dinners, her father would tell stories about family recipes, emphasizing they were family-only traditions. I watched him use jarred garlic and shortcuts his grandmother never would have taken. That night, I practiced making pasta until my arms ached. I'd been learning the original methods from Rosaria's handwritten cards from the 1950s, recipes from their specific village in Abruzzo. 3 weeks before Christmas, Rosaria mentioned she grew up near Angela's family's village. She said families had simplified everything for convenience. That's when I knew I had the perfect plan. At the Feast of the Seven Fishes, her father announced he'd prepare everything the traditional way since Americans didn't understand the significance. 25 relatives heard him say it. Christmas Eve arrived and her father was making his sauce with imported tomatoes. I asked if I could contribute one dish. He smirked, waiting for me to embarrass myself. People were already pulling out their phones, probably expecting entertainment. I started making sagna pezze, a pasta specific to their village that nobody in the family had made for generations. As I worked, I explained in Italian that this was served for Christmas in the mountains before dried pasta existed. I made the exact bean sauce with guanciale their great-grandmothers used, naming the specific beans from their valley. Her father's face went completely white. The room went silent. His grandmother stood up crying, saying her mother described this dish but never wrote the recipe. His brother grabbed his shoulder and said I knew more than him. After I served, I prepared scotadito the exact way of their region, explaining how it differed from Roman preparation. Everyone was tasting and marveling at flavors they'd only heard about. Her father just stood there frozen, still holding his jar of tomatoes. At dinner, he didn't say a word while I served each course. Angela told him I'd been studying for 18 months, since the day he served me store-bought beer. Later, he cornered me and asked how I knew all that. I told him Rosaria grew up with his grandmother. He went pale. At our son's baptism, he made a toast saying he was wrong about me. Then he said in Italian, "Sei il mio vero figlio."